years I spent my time at the Max Planck Institute looking at the hate crime concept in Germany, and mainly dealt with the of hate crime. So today I'm just going to try to maybe have a more practical take on what the hate crime is in Germany and how it is identified by the police, and well, what challenges occur when actually trying to identify hate motive, which we heard before in the presentation. It's not that easy to get down to the bottom of what offenders are thinking when they're committing such crimes. So don't mind me, I'll stick to my paper sometimes because the terminology in German is sometimes a bit difficult, so in order to make it clear. So I'm just giving you two real-life examples of hate crimes which happened in Germany recently. So the first one's on July 22nd, 2008, where a 55-year-old homeless Bernd K. from Templin, which is in eastern Germany, was badly abused and beaten until he died due to strong force against the head. The 19 and 22-year-old perpetrators were well known to the police as being right-wing extremists. In court, the judge called the crime a tremendously brutal and inhumane act, and he also emphasized that the attitude of the perpetrators was the decisive factor for choosing the victim, whom they despised because of his low social status. Now, the second case, which was quite pushed in the media, that news was in 2009, where the Egyptian woman Marwa El-Shabini was killed during a court hearing in Dresden. She was stabbed several times by a German-Russian immigrant against whom Shabini had testified. At an earlier incident, the man had insulted the woman for wearing a headscarf, calling her a terrorist and Islamist. And in the end, the accused was found guilty of murder and sentenced to life imprisonment. And in the final decision, the judge stated that the perpetrator was driven actually by hostility and prejudice against race and religion, which led to an aggravated sentencing. So, I want to dive into the definition. There's a hate crime definition which was published by the Office for Democratic Institutions and Human Rights, which defines hate crime as any criminal offense, including offenses against persons, property, personal property, where the victim, premises, or target of the offense is selected because of the real or perceived connection, attachment, affiliation, support, or membership of a group which may be based upon characteristic common to its members, such as real or perceived race, national or ethnic origin, language, color, religion, sex, age, mental or physical disability, sexual orientation, or any similar factor. Now, nowadays many countries try to promote the concept of hate crime in order to address the contemporary social problem of managing diversity and prejudice and racist behavior. However, in Germany it's a little bit of a different case because due to our historical and cultural disparities, the content of the German hate concept is actually quite different to other countries. In Germany, many legislations that were passed in the post-area of the Second World War, they mainly passed being strongly influenced by the experience of racial and anti-Semitic violence during the time of the National Socialism. And hence the main objective was to prevent the resurgence of anti-Semitic violence and right-wing extremism. So there's a strong focal point in Germany in this area. So this led to the fact that until the year 2000, the Federal Office of Criminal Investigation and the Federal Office for the Protection of the Constitution recorded all criminal offenses which were considered right-wing extremist or involved an anti-Semitic background, with a strong focus on the extremist element of these crimes. So this means the important factor was that a crime had the explicit intention to threaten the fundamental democratic principles of Germany. However, this really restricted focal point was widely criticized very soon in the media and by victim support groups because there were disparate definitions all across Germany. There were discrepancies between officially registered cases and the cases collected by victim support groups. So in this respect, and out of an urgent need really to improve the data on cases with bias and prejudice motivated backgrounds, Roughly 10 years ago, in 2001, Germany's policymakers eventually introduced hate crime as a criminal category to improve this kind of data. So this is a definition that we currently have in Germany. Basically, the aim was to create a multidimensional approach for classifying and registering criminal offenses that are motivated by biased attitudes. The Federal Ministry of the Interior developed the concept as part of a whole new police registration system to address hate crimes as so-called politically motivated offenses. So hate crime, according to the definition, referred to politically motivated offenses if, in the assessment of the circumstance of the crime and or the attitude of the perpetrator, there's reason to suspect that they are directed against a person because of his or her nationality, race, ethnicity, origin, sexual orientation, physical appearance, status in society, disabilities, income, religion, and the offense is thus in a causal relationship to this. So basically the prejudice or the status of the victim has to be the main reason why the crime had been committed. What I have to mention, which was also mentioned this morning in Kieran's presentation, is that in Germany we don't have a hate crime law as such, like for example I have in the US. What we do have is the possibility, according to the German Penal Code, paragraph 46, to apply enhanced sentencing measures if, for example, a crime is caused by biased motive. However, if an aggravated sentence is applied, this is always to the discretion of the judge. So it's not an obligation. So I want to actually focus a little bit more at the practical ways how the registration of hate crime works, and try to explain it a little bit. So basically, the new definition system, which has a bit of a difficult name, the Criminal Investigation Registration System for Politically Motivated Criminality. They set nationwide standards to classify and register the so-called hate crimes or hate-motivated crimes. So at first, offenses are assigned to a category according to the quality and the seriousness of an act. So we have politically motivated crimes in general. Then they separate a category for politically motivated violent crimes. And then there's also a separate category for propaganda offenses, which is quite a big category in Germany, which includes an incitement of hatred, wearing a swastika, all these kinds of crimes, which, if you look at right-wing offenses, this is about 80% of all the crimes that are registered in this area, so they're separated. So following the first categorization of either violent crime or general crime, it is then determined whether an offense is actually classified as a hate crime and is then allocated to this topic area. Then the hate crime area itself is again separated into subcategories in xenophobic crimes, which are hate crimes that are committed because of the victim's actual or perceived nationality, ethnicity, race, color, skin, origin, etc. And then they have other separate categories, anti-Semitic crimes, offenses committed because of anti-Jewish sentiments. So, here we have decided it is a hate crime, and then the statistic moved on to assigning the crime to an area of phenomenon. And this area of phenomenon, they're looking at the presumed background of this crime. And here we have the separation in politically motivated crimes, which are right-wing, left-wing, offenses committed by foreigners, by offenders of foreign origin, and other crimes which cannot be defined any further. So just a note on the areas of phenomenon. Basically, right-wing offenses are politically, These are offenses which may be assigned to right-wing attitudes, however, without necessarily presenting an extremist threat to the democratic principles of Germany. So incidents, for example, assigned to this area are xenophobic or anti-Semitic attacks which give references to Nazism, racism, social Darwinism, etc. as a primary motive. Crimes involve, for example, incitement to hatred, propaganda offenses, and other kind of behaviors that display a right-wing attitude. Now, while right-wing offenses are the majority of collected hate crimes in Germany, there are also hate crimes which can be assigned to left-wing offenses. According to the statistics, these are crimes committed by members of left-wing groups, crimes out of xenophobic reasoning by members of left-wing groups, or include attacks against political enemies in general, sometimes also vandalism, but most of the cases registered here are attacks against, for political reasons, against right-wing group members. Finally, crimes committed by offenders of foreign origin includes, as it says, offenders of non-German origin, even if they are German residents. So the decisive factor is that they are, in some case, of foreign origin, no matter if they have a German passport or not. So these crimes which are in this category may include Islamic violence, xenophobic attacks, but also anti-Semitic racism. So this new terminology, politically motivated crime, as a main head category for hate crime, is slightly confusing. While actually what it's meant by the politicians when they introduce it is that they aim for a detachment from the previously dominant focus on political offenses. They wanted to get away from the factor that the crime had to have an extremist background. So it might be a bit confusing to still call it politically motivated offenses while the perpetrator actually doesn't necessarily have to display a political orientation or has to have extremist intentions. So if I cite the Ministry of the Interior introduced the concept, they had the main aim to ensure that due to nationwide standards of registration and introduction of comprehensive definition criteria, all relevant facts are recorded, assessed, and reported by the various state offices for criminal investigation according to an anonymously agreed and standardized procedure. So that means that this registration system is actually passed all across all different federal states of Germany and are used as a standard, so that everybody is supposed to stick to the same definition of hate crime and produce the same kind of statistics all across Germany. So, let's see what type of crimes. Basically, the identification and registration of hate crime is supposed to follow certain organizational procedure within the police structures. So when a crime occurs, usually a local police officer responds, he completes an incident report, and makes an initial assessment to determine whether there was actually an indication for bias or hate of the alleged perpetrator. Crimes that can fall in this category, and this is not an exhaustive list, may be homicide, physical assault, damage to property, desecration of graves, attacks on places of worship, vandalism, arson, verbal assault, threats, insults, incitement to hatred. These are just the main crimes that are usually registered within the hate crime statistics in Germany, but basically, according to the definition, every crime can be a hate crime. So as I said, central to the classification of an incident of a hate crime is the police officer's assessment of the circumstances and the motive of the perpetrator. Indicators for hate crime motivation which can be applied by police is the totality of circumstances of the offense, racial or ethnic group differences between offender and victim, basically a lack of any other apparent motive, so the police officer might notice that there might be a biased background, statements and perception of the victim, of witnesses, of suspects, the display of offensive symbols, certain words, gestures, insults, which give reference to the group identity of the victim, the group membership of the suspect in an organized hate group, or prior legal history of similar hate incidences committed by the suspect. So I got you a little example here from a real case that happened in southern Germany, how it was written down in the police case file, just to explain a bit how the registration works. So in this example, a police officer noticed how a dark-skinned man is being punched and kicked by 4 young men who were no members of the local right-wing skinhead group. Later on, the victim stated that the group had stopped him on his way home, asking where he was from. After telling that he was from Sri Lanka, one of the accused told the victim that he doesn't belong to Germany and insulted him by saying, "Stupid nigger, Hitler wouldn't have you guessed, and damn foreigner." He then started punching him in the face. So this is actually it's a very stereotypical and typical case of all the hate crimes that are registered. So it's basically it's one of the cases that happen quite a lot, or are registered quite a lot, to say it that way. So as I said, the first stage of the definition process is perception of the local police officer. He determines the direction for further investigations and decide whether an incident is considered as a possible hate crime. So then case information is passed on via a special level reporting service for so-called politically motivated crimes, and via this service, if the police officer detects or has a suspicion that it might be a hate crime, he reports it, and then it's passed to the regional state security division of the criminal police, which have specially trained officers who will review the case, and if a biased motivation is confirmed by them, then they resume the investigation. So we're at the regional police state security division at the moment, and after this investigation process is finished, the state security police assigns crime to a category. In this case, it is a hate crime. They specify the motive and choose an area of phenomenon. And if this reporting system is activated, the State Office of Criminal Investigation, which is on a federal level of Germany, record information on the place of the offense and suspect and circumstances of the crime, and try to verify and register all reported cases. Finally, all registered crimes are passed on to the Federal Office of Criminal Investigation, and they basically accumulate all the data for statistical reports of the government, which are published on an annual basis. So if we go back to the example, it was assigned to be a politically motivated violent crime. It was assigned to be a hate crime. It was for xenophobic reasons, and it was considered to be in the category of right-wing offenses because of the reference that were noticed by the police and written down in the police reports. So I'm not going to throw too much numbers at you, just to give you an idea on the development of police registered hate crime figures in Germany, from the introduction of the new definition system in 2001 to the latest figures in 2008. So it was unsurprising that in 2001 the numbers were quite high because of the new definition system that was introduced, and due to police training, police officers were more sensitive, so that might explain that there were quite high numbers in the first year of the introduction, which then slightly gone down again during the years. In 2006, Germany then experienced quite a steep rise in the overall number, which rose to 20% nearly, where the Ministry of Interior tried to explain it by an increased heated public debate about xenophobic violence in the forefront of the Football World Cup in Germany in 2006, and a strong police presence before and during the event. So in 2008 there were about 4,700 offences, including about 560 violent attacks which were recorded as a hate crime. And the latest figures were not on here yet, are from 2009, and they've gone down a bit to 4,500 and about 590 violent crimes which were registered for 2009. So, on the perpetrators of crime, what we have to look at when we look at the statistics on perpetrators and on victims and the whole hate crime statistics of the police is that the police they register cases when an investigation is finished, so there's no actually follow-up on the prosecution of the hate crimes and how they are in the end, whether the court decides that it actually was a hate crime or bias motivated. So these numbers are just all the registered cases of actually not perpetrators but suspects of hate crime. And we always have to keep that in mind when looking at all the statistics of the police in Germany, that they're not follow-up and usually not changed in accordance with the decision of the prosecution. I looked at 2008 as an example where 90% of incidences were categorized as politically right-wing hate crimes, and they predominantly involve propaganda crimes and damage to property. Incidences regarding left-wing or foreign offenders were really much lower. The category others includes xenophobic crimes or crimes against other victim traits such as sexual orientation, religion, social status, which could not be assigned to a certain political background in the category of right or left-wing crimes, or where the perpetrator remained unknown to the police. From my own analysis, I looked at 120 hate crime case files in southern Germany, where I was able to draw some conclusions regarding the phenomenology of the registered perpetrators, where basically the majority of the sample of violent hate crimes involved offenders of German nationality and origin. They were mainly male, between 18 and 20 years old. They often had previous criminal records regarding physical assault and other politically motivated crimes, and they were very often known members of right-wing skinhead groups. I didn't put up the number here, but if anybody's interested on detail on that, I can send that out by email. So these are the people victimized during that year according to the hate crime definition. Now again, the data on victims in Germany has to be analyzed and interpreted very carefully, because the registration for the hate crimes allows for one crime to be assigned to multiple topic areas. So basically it's possible that a crime has been committed because of the sexual orientation of a person, but also because he was Muslim. So in statistics this would account for 2 crimes. Or it could also be that you register somebody as a xenophobic crime, and then also as sexual orientation. So it just basically there are slight differences in the numbers, so just give a rough idea of the directions of the victimized groups that are affected in Germany. So from the subcategories, I looked at violent hate crime in this area. I can refer that the main focus is related to xenophobic crimes, followed by racism, again, attacks against the social status, and anti-Semitic crimes. If I go back to the areas of phenomenon where these crimes are situated, according to the data distributed by the Federal Criminal Police Office, right-wing violence is most often committed out of political, anti-Semitic, xenophobic or racist motive, but they also are found in other victim groups, like against the LGBT community, people with disabilities, homeless people, etc. Now, as I mentioned before, left-wing violence is mainly directed, according to these statistics, incidences against the social status or against right-wing political opponents. Hate crimes committed by foreigners focus mainly on anti-Semitic, xenophobic crimes or are directed at religious victim groups. Well, I think what becomes obvious when you try to look at the way that the police register the hate crime cases is that it's not an easy task for law enforcement authorities, and that's why man was trying to put a practical take on the whole issue. After the introduction of the new registration system, the Ministry of the Interior and Ministry of Justice published a report addressing the issue of politically motivated crime and hate crime, and pointing out the very much importance of police discretion when it comes to defining and identifying offences. However, there are still huge problems when it comes to actually assessing and classifying so-called hate motives during the daily routine of the police, which brings us back to the question how to actually identify a hate motive. So as I said, the problem is that in order to define an incident, hate or bias has to be identified as the primary motivation. According to expert interviews with police officers, the main difficulties regarding the explicit assessment of the motive can be described to vague evidence, possible presence of multiple triggers for an attack, sometimes also to a simple lack of human resources and the vast amount of cases, so there's actually no time to conduct in-depth investigation into the motive, and what they usually find is that the offender don't admit to a racist motive. So other problems that which I found especially in the study is that there are problems when the offender doesn't seem to belong to a stereotypical category commonly associated with hate crime. Further difficulties arise if an obvious link between suspect or victim to a certain group, but also the crime involves multiple motives or multiple victims of different status. So put down on the bottom one sentence that was quite common when I interviewed police officers. The first thing they said is that we cannot simply not look into the mind of the offender. So if there are no obvious signs that basically are not ticking the box, it might be a hate crime. So overall, police officers have to rely on their discretion, their work experience, and familiar stereotypes, familiar topology on the two main subcategories, which I mentioned before, xenophobic and anti-Semitic. In Germany are predominantly associated with right-wing extremist perpetrators. So decisive criteria leading to the police assessment of hate crime was generally found in the right extremist affiliation of the offender, and xenophobic insults with reference to National Socialism noticed during the course of the criminal event. Overtly visible attributes of the offender, such as stereotypical look, appearance, display of Nazi symbols, etc., as well as the ethnic minority, the visible ethnic minority background, the background to victims were crucial for the majority of the cases registered as a hate crime by the police. So if you look at that, this obviously results in problems and irritations when passing on a case to investigation agencies. In fact, many police officers actually don't know the official definition of hate crime. It seems to be very familiar, even though it's been around for nearly 10 years now. According to a recent study published by a victim support group called many criminal offences are only considered and registered as a hate crime in Germany. If the perpetrator is German and directly affiliated to a far-right organization, and the victim is of visible foreign. So as a result, hate crimes which depart from this typology, this might include crimes against homosexuals, foreigners who are attacked by perpetrators of non-German origin, or even foreigners who attack a German, might often not be recognized as a hate crime. Overall, what recent studies in Germany show is that offenders of hate crime are not all wearing combat boots, they're not having shaved heads,
not having shaved heads,
wave swastika flags. One example, which is a new dimension in Germany for a couple of years now, is the so-called autonomous nationalists, which in their intention they are considered to be right-wing extremists, but they are basically dressing like the left-wing subculture. If you're having people committing hate crimes which belong to this subculture, they might fit in a certain category, but from the normal stereotypical looks, it's just not possible for police officers to always differentiate which category you can assign them to. So I put that this provides the uncertainty about the validity of the police hate crime statistics in Germany, and they lead to the conclusion that there's still a large dimension of unknown cases of hate crime, which are hidden in dark figures, of unreported and unregistered crime. Really, what we have to keep in mind, though, is that it's the main decision of the police officers, at the local patrol, and their responsibility to identify the hate crime. So with a hate crime with a highly complex phenomenon, in order to actually classify presumed bias crime, and apply also legal measures to shut such cases in accordance to the parameters of this definition. So when I say that overall Germany's policymakers have made significant efforts during the last years to develop a system of collecting data on hate crime and such offences, but there's still significant weaknesses in this area, which is mainly caused due to these very heterogenic traits that hate crime displays. One of the main problems today is also that police operational guidelines and how they follow up the statistics for hate crime. They have not been independently evaluated in Germany yet. And also the handling of police-defined hate crimes by the criminal justice system. During the process of prosecution, is mainly widely unexplored, so we don't actually know what happens to the hate crime, whether it's verified in court afterwards, because there are no follow-ups on that. I argue that it's essential to assist policymakers and law enforcement agencies to think about whether the hate crime definition is a good thing to apply in Germany, whether that actually fits with the common understanding of such crimes. But to also learn more about the characteristics of bias motivation. So I argue for more of a bottom-up approach of implementing intense police training at all employment levels, because in Germany we have a special unit with trained police officers area. But before the hate crime case reaches this level of the police, there are 2 levels beneath it of police officers who are not well trained in this area. Their only job is to arrest the suspect, to collect the evidence, but it's not their task to look at the motive. If it's not blatantly obvious, then it's just lots of cases who fall down. The table might not be identified as a possible hate crime. I put also maybe hate crime focused educational measures, workshop roundtables, which includes police officers and also victim support groups to exchange intelligence in the area and to get to know more about hate crime and the overall problem, and I think that's one that's common in every country, is that there are just financial shortcomings in all areas, police and prosecution services, that there's just a lack of personnel, there's a lack of time to actually, in the vast amount of cases, to look at the motive in each incident, and to enable in-depth investigation. So finally, substantial scientific exploration, by nature and extent of Germany, should be encouraged. This is start here now as an exhaustive nationwide comparison in order to grasp the whole magnitude of this criminal phenomenon and intelligence that's provided by other countries. Well, this is pretty much it. Maybe one note on the hate crime law. We talked about that a bit earlier. As I said, I'm promoting an up approach where you start not with a law on top of everything, fitting in on things that we don't know enough about. Maybe after more research projects we know more about it, we come to the conclusion that hate crime is a good idea. But at the moment it won't really improve the situation. There's not too many unanswered questions. As I said, we don't know about how the police are actually identifying hate crimes. What methods do they apply? If there are people who are arguing for stricter sentences for hate crimes in Germany, we don't even know if stricter sentences are applied because we don't have any statistics because we don't have any statistics on it. So generally, as I said, up to the discretion of the judge, if he has evidence that the motive is racist content or whatever, is able to apply an aggravated sentence. But we don't know yet. We don't know are the crimes treated harsher or are the crimes treated like any other crime. So I argue before we don't even know what's actually happening in the law system. We should be careful with introducing new laws. And also relating back to Nathan's whole social construction of hate crime. The police and the whole legal system plays a big part of constructing crimes and constructing motives. It always depends on the police officer. He kicks it off. He decides about the direction of the crime. He decides about the direction of the hate crime. And on top of that, before we know everything about it, this just leads to big inequalities in how laws are applied. Thank you.
Any questions?
Yes, I have a particular question about statistics that you show, this statistics collected by the police in Germany. So you have these 4 categories, the right wing, the left wing, and the foreign origin and the non-specified.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can see the explanation for wanting to distinguish the right wing and left wing, and maybe also particularly in Germany due to various reasons. But what's the sort of explanation for the third category?
Which one?
Why is whether or not the offender is of German or foreign origin?
Well, there is no real explanation for that, and it's also a thing that's handled not very strict, because actually the perpetrator can be German, can be of German nationality, but if he's of foreign origin, it should be in this category. I don't know what the point is, because it actually leads to more separation, because I mean, if he's of German nationality, then he's a German, so he should be in this category. So I cannot really answer the question why this category is there, because they are trying now in Germany, they have a strong focus on Islamist violence, and while this category might be however really stereotyping, they try to find a category where they can put the Islamist violence in.
Because I mean, one solution would be to have to say, okay, so you have the right wing, left wing thing. That's one way of dividing up political opinions, right? And then you can have the category. Because what's so strange about the third category, it has nothing. Yes, it is politically motivated by family from foreign origin. But it's so strange because, I mean, it could be politically motivated by right-wing voting, for instance.
Yeah.
But you happen to be a foreigner.
Yeah.
So
That's
Yeah.
true.
so the
That's
category would be better off than being about, so there's a political motive of another sort
Yeah.
than that
Yeah.
you can't describe as the right-wing, left-wing sort of categorization.
Yeah.
And it doesn't
I
really
agree.
matter where people
Yeah,
come
I
from.
agree.
I agree.
But it's,
I agree.
Right. But okay, so that's...
Yeah, I agree.
that
I mean,
basically
like
what-
things that,
Yeah, I
that
agree.
fall
I
into
mean,
this
like
category
things
is,
that fall
even
into this
if a
category is
German
even
of
if a
Turkish origin,
German of Turkish
beats up
origin
a German
beats up
German,
a German,
Yeah.
then he would be in this category, which
then he would be in
really
this
makes no
category, which
sense.
really
But
makes
there's
no
a,
sense.
there's a big discussion in
But
Germany
there's a big
about
discussion in Germany
violence committed by
about
foreigners, but
violence
in the
committed
whole
by
discussion
foreigners,
they're not
but
really
in the whole
differentiating. They're
discussion
still
they're not
making
really
the separation
differentiating. They're
of
still making the
okay,
separation
if,
of
you know, if
okay,
you're
if,
a foreign
you know,
background,
if
then
you're
you are a
foreign
foreigner, then
background,
this
then you
accounts
are
for
a foreigner,
foreign
then this
motivated
accounts for
violence.
foreign motivated
So
violence.
I think
Yes.
it's a real
So
downfall in
I think
the,
it's
in
a
the
real
categorization,
downfall
I
in
So
agree.
you could say it
the
would be,
categorization,
so
I
that
agree.
would be a case of a xenophobic motive of some sort,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. Strange.
Yeah, I agree, I agree.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
What?
It's really a mirror of the public discussions on foreigners or not foreigners in Germany.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
the police is a little bit tending to the right wing. In a certain way. It's
Yeah. I think you have to be careful.
I think
with
you have to
that,
be
but,
careful.
I think it has more to do really
I
with
think
with
it
the
has more to do
stereotypical
really
view
with
of
the
police
stereotypical
officers.
view of
It's
police
the same.
officers.
I think there's
It's
a
the
big
same.
difference of
I think
who
there's
they
a big
perceive
difference
foreign
of
as well.
who they
You know,
perceive foreign as
Turkish
well.
people,
You know,
they
Turkish people,
look a bit
they
more dark skinned though.
look a bit more dark skinned.
French people, okay, they
French
look
people,
more European,
okay,
so
they
they
look
not
more
necessarily
European, so
are in
they
this
not
category.
necessarily are in this
They
category.
should be, but if the
should
police
be,
officer
but
assign it to it,
if the police
they
officer
very
assign
much
it
go
to it,
for
they very much go
visual
for
input.
visual.
So there is a problem with
there is a problem with
racism in the police and
racism in the police.
I don't want to discuss the version of the police working.
yeah.
I have two questions. One is, what would happen if, let's say, an old lady would beat a Turkish boy at the street? Would it be categorized as politically motivated crime?
Well, politically motivated crime is a
Politically
subcategory,
motivated
and
crime
because
is a
if the old
subcategory,
lady
because
attacked
if
the
the
man
old lady
because
attacked
of because he
the
was
man
foreign,
because of because
then
he
it
was
is a
foreign,
politically
then it is
motivated
a
crime. It's not.
politically
That's all
motivated
I
crime.
try
It's
to
not.
make the point
That's
that
all I try
what
to
makes
make
the
the
whole
point
thing
that,
confusing
what
is
makes
this
the whole thing
political.
confusing.
It
is
doesn't
this
necessarily
political.
has to reflect
It doesn't
that there are
necessarily
there's
has
a
to
political
reflect that there
background.
are
They're just
is a
trying to
political
separate it
background.
into
They're
this
just trying to
category,
separate it
but
into this
it would be a
category,
politically
but
motivated
it
crime
would be a
because of the
politically motivated
xenophobic
crime because
aspect.
of the xenophobic aspect.
Then it would be a hate crime.
Then it would be a
xenophobic.
hate crime.
And if you
Xenophobic.
cannot differentiate,
if you cannot
differentiate, the old lady
the old
didn't
lady
say
has-
anything which
didn't
which
say
could be
anything,
associated with right
which
wing
could be associated with
political
right-wing,
attitudes.
political
Then it would
attitudes.
just be a
Then it
non-specified
would just be a
xenophobic hate crime.
non-specified xenophobic hate
I mean, I
crime.
agree that it's
I mean,
really
I agree that,
confusing,
that
and I
it's
think
really
that's one of
confusing,
the,
and I
the
think that's
reasons
one
why
of
it's
the,
not,
the
in my
reasons
opinion,
why
not
it's
working
not,
that
in
well.
my
You
opinion,
get the
not
output
working
of
that
numbers
well.
of registered
You get the
hate
output
crimes,
of
but
the numbers
nobody
of registered hate
really
crimes,
knows
but nobody
what
really
kind of
knows
crimes they are and
what
which
kind
crimes
of
are
crimes
in
they
this
are,
category
which
and which
crimes
aren't.
are in this category and which
So,
aren't. So,
Well, sorry, I had the second question. That has nothing to do with this scheme law. You mentioned that there should be more training courses for police officers. As far as I know, police officers have to visit the police school. I don't know what the name is in the UK. Is this topic not covered by the police school?
the hate crime agenda is not
hate crime again.
Again,
it's not,
it depends on the level of
again,
the police
it
officers.
depends on the level of the
if you
police
start to
officers,
become a police officer
if
at
you
the
start
lowest
to
level,
become
like
a police
everybody has
officer
to
at
do
the
this,
lowest level, like everybody has to do
then
this.
this is not covered. What they are covering
this is
at the
not
lowest
covered.
level
What
of
they
the
are
police
covering
is
at the lowest
politically
level of the
right-wing,
police is
politically
politically
left-wing
right-wing,
offences with
left-wing
reference to
offences
extremism.
with
This
reference
is the
to
main
extremism.
category they
This is the
focus on.
main category they focus
How
on.
hate crime works,
How
and all,
hate crime
obviously,
works, and
you know, they mention that,
obviously,
that homosexuals can become
homosexuals
victim
can
of a
become
crime,
victim
but
of
how
a
the
crime.
whole system
But
works,
how the whole system
is
works
pretty much reserved
is
to special
pretty much
training. If
reserved
you're a
to special
higher
training.
police
If you're
officer and you go
higher
into
police officer and you
in
go
Germany,
into
it's
Germany,
state security
it's,
police.
state security police
Office.
office.
And they become familiar with the hate crime legislation, with
the hate
what's
crime
in this
legislation,
categorization, but
what's
at the lowest
in this
level, and this is
categorization,
mainly
at
the
the lowest
police
level,
officers
and
which
this is mainly
do the
police
first
officers which
assessment. They are not trained.
They are not
crime.
trained.
Most of them, I talked to them and I mentioned the study
I talked to them and I mentioned the study by
most of them have never heard of the term.
Most of them have never heard of the term.
For 10 years.
No, exists for 10 years.
And it's basically of not of
it's
importance to them
basically
as well.
of
They
not
don't
of
feel like they have
importance
to
to
know
them as
about
well.
it.
They don't
All
feel
they
like
have to know is
all they have to
okay,
know
they are
is,
sensitive to
okay,
cases
they are
where
sensitive
they have
to
racist
cases where they
slurs
have
or
racist slurs
xenophobic
or
insults and all that, and they
insults
are
and
quick
all
to
that,
make
and
the
they
tick then
are quick to make the tick then
send it
and,
off, but they're not familiar with
they're
this
not
kind
they're
of
not familiar
legislation.
with this kind of registration.
Question for you about the case of the Sri Lankan man who was targeted, and where the person who was about to become a victim asked the person who was about to become a victim, "Where are you from?" Have you had any thoughts about this? Because it struck me about the sort of interaction between the offender and the victim. In an analysis that we carried out at the Metropolitan Police, it was a Jewish incident. Offenders commonly ask the victims, "Are you a Jew?" Well, it's blindingly obvious that the person was. And it struck me this question, "Where are you from?"
Yeah.
What's behind this kind of interaction? I mean, if the person said, "I'm from Frankfurt," would they say, "Oh, okay then, never mind, go on your way"? Any thoughts about this?
Well, I didn't do like
psychological
profiling on
psychological
offenders,
profiling
but what I did notice when I read the cases,
when I read the cases,
of these
I read
lots
lots
and they're all
of
very
these kinds of
similar.
cases,
They
and
all
they're all
start
very similar,
with
and they
the
all
offender
start
approaching
with
the
the
victim,
offender
trying to
approaching the
interact,
victim,
asking
trying to
them very
interact,
common is
asking them
asking for
very
a
common
cigarette.
is asking for a
Next
cigarette.
question is where you from.
Next
That's actually
question
quite a
is
common
where you
question,
from.
and I
That's
think
actually
it's
quite a
more
common question, and I think it's
of
more
a process. Like that's my
of
opinion.
a process. That's my opinion.
Of a process of
a process of
starting provocation.
starting provocation.
Trying to get involved with the victim.
Get
trying
involved
to
with the victim.
show them
Show them
they are usually in a group, and
they are usually in a group.
That's what
And they are
the
usually
cases
drunk.
show.
That's what the
It's
cases show.
just they have to start interact somehow with
They
the
have to
victim. They're
start
not just
interact somehow
approaching
with
them
the
and beating
victim. They're
them
not
up.
just
They
approaching them
do
and
want
beating
to
them up.
maybe
They do want
intimidate
to
him
maybe
before,
intimidate
and I think
him a bit before,
group
and I
of
think
people
if
approaches
a group of people
somebody
approaches
and asking these kind of
somebody
questions, and maybe you can
asking these
already
kind
tell
of
from the
questions, and
appearance
maybe
that
you
they
can
don't
already
really,
tell
not
from
very
the
fond
appearance
of
that
you.
they don't really, are
And
not
this
very
kind of
fond of you.
interaction
And
already
this kind of
initiates a
already
sort of intimidation,
initiates
which
a sort of
eventually
intimidation,
then,
which
ends in
eventually
a
then
violent attack.
ends in the violent attack.
Maybe it's also about identifying, in your own presentation we were talking about it hurts walls perhaps because it goes to the core of who you think. Maybe it is actually about making it clear that that is why what's about to happen is about to happen.
Yeah.
It's asking, it's like, are you a Jew? Rather than just walking up to somebody and kicking them in the...
And I think they do want them to know.
I think they do want them to know.
That this is because you are belonging to this group. Anyway, on that note, unless anyone's got a burning question, I'm pretty hungry.
Yeah, me too.
At least one of my staff indicated they were starving about an hour ago, so we will lock the room, so you don't have to take anything.